State Secretary, a busy day, National Day of Austria. We're filming this end of October. You've been talking to citizens and visitors all day. What are the main questions of people to you as a State Secretary for Youth Affairs? We'll talk about it later, but what are like the questions that bother people?
So I'm very happy to welcome here in the Federal Chancellery many visitors, especially young visitors, on this day in Austria. I had the opportunity to talk to lots of people, and yeah, they had questions about housing, especially for young people, for instance, and how I made it happen that I work in politics, for instance. So there are big interest, especially from young people, and I'm happy that many people queued up to be part of it. And
that's a good question. Why politics? I read that your father was a mayor somewhere. Maybe that is kind of motivation. But what drives a very young person to enter party politics?
So I got politically engaged 10 years ago. Way before my father became a mayor. Okay, so I was politically engaged before as a student representative. I started 10 years ago in my school, in my high school, to be a student representative, and that was the opportunity for me to get firstly in touch with young people who have ideas, who not just see problems in our education system, for instance, and who want to solve these problems. And I like the collaboration with motivated young people and with politicians who also want to see solutions on these problems. And that was for me the motivation to go into politics, and that is still something that strengthens me in my work when I can talk to people who
Austria is one of the few European countries that lowered the voting age to 16. How come? Does it help to have bigger participation of young people in the elections? And as I talk to you and various other people who are basically youth in politics in Austria, it seems that you are a very political nation in that regard, that you really want to participate. So 16 years old and participation, did it have any effect?
Actually, we are celebrating the 15th anniversary of voting at 16 in Austria, and it's a big milestone we reached 15 years ago. So many young people have now the opportunity to participate in elections and to strengthen their vote, and I think that's something very important because we all know the demographic developments of the future, and that the young generation is the lighter generation compared to elder ones, and that is why it is so important that young people raise their voice and also engage in politics, not just vote when there are elections. They shall engage as well, because it's our future.
And this is really a strong message that you, as a State Secretary for Youth, are sitting in the Chancellery. What are the main pillars? We know what is European pillars of youth policy, but what are the main pillars for you personally for youth policy in Austria? So what are the biggest challenges for you?
In the moment, the biggest challenge for young people and for me in my political work, something that has priority, is housing for young people. So I try to make it more affordable for young people and families to create their own houses, apartments. That's something that got too expensive over the last few years, also because of the high inflation rate. And I try to decrease the taxes on ownership, for instance, and also registration fees. That's something I'm working on in the moment, and hopefully we get some solutions soon.
So economy it is, you know, the things change. You've mentioned we live in the very uncertain age, high inflation, winter is coming, energy prices, war in Ukraine, so uncertainty in general. For young people who are entering the labor market, you've mentioned housing as one of the key issues how do you see the new digital age in terms of also the shift of economy and, you know, youth entering this kind of economy? There may be precariat, maybe uncertainties that we face, and in other side, how is this digital affecting their decision making?
Yeah, the digital age changed a lot, especially for young people, but it also brought lots of opportunities for young people. On the one hand, concerning employment, for instance, and that's something where we strengthen our youth and motivate them to take jobs who are jobs for the future. Green jobs, for instance, digital jobs, because that changed over the last 2 years a lot because of Corona pandemic, because of lockdowns, because of home office. We have now more possibilities to work remote, to work globally as well. And especially in Austria, I just mentioned employment. In Austria, we are proud that we have the second highest employment rate among youngsters in the European Union. And I see one reason for that, and that is our vocational training, our apprentices who do a great job also in international competitions. The world skills take place these days, and that's something we are very proud of, our dual system in school, and that 40% up to 50% decide for an apprenticeship.
How big of an issue is inequality in Austria, and maybe exclusion of certain groups, or I don't know, gender, or refugee, or migrants? How much of an issue it is among the youth in Austria?
It is definitely an issue because the youth is a very heterogenic group, and every young person is different to each other, whether they engage, whether they come from the countryside or live in a city, whether they study at university or do an apprenticeship. So we have a various people I'm responsible for, and yeah, that's something I try to motivate the different kinds of young people and talk to them, because everyone has some different ideas and aspects which are important to them, and yeah, I like it a lot to work with young people who have that different perspectives.
How is it to work with old people? Because politics used to be old and male and white.
It used to be.
It used to be. So how are you changing things from your position?
I'm happy that we are in Austria on a good way to actually say that it was used to be that politics are old and male, because we have yeah, many young women especially who are politicians, not just in the government but also in parliament, for instance, and that's something that that changed over the last few years, and I also try to motivate always young women especially to make their first steps in policy making. And
just for the end, what would be your message to other youth or young Europeans? Is party politics the only way to engage, or how should they engage and participate if they're not feeling that something's right, or if they have good ideas for the society? There are many ways to participate, especially in Europe, in our continent, and those possibilities are now more easy to catch up with since the Corona pandemic made it now possible again that we can travel, that we can study abroad, and that's also something that connects us within our continent, within Europe, and that's something where young people make good experience. They see other cultures, they learn other languages, and the understanding for each other is something very important, and that's also something that we need for the next generations, for our European spirit. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.